Hello and welcome back to ADDERTalks. Before we jump into today's podcast, a quick note to help set the scene. You'll hear two terms used throughout the conversation, AIM and ADDER Infinity Manager. While they're closely related, they're not the same thing. AIM is the system management software. It's what gives administrators control over the IP KVM environment and enables users to switch seamlessly between sources. ADDER Infinity Manager, on the other hand, is the server hardware that AIM runs on. So when we talk about features, performance and user experience, we're really talking about AIM, the software layer, delivered through the manager platform. And today's conversation is all about the release of AIM 6, the latest iteration of the software, bringing new capabilities, improvements and a refined experience for both administrators and users. With that in mind, let's get into the conversation. Hello and welcome back to another episode of the ADDERTalks podcast. Today I'm joined by Senior Product Manager John Hawksworth. John, how are you?
All right, thank you very much, Ed.
We are discussing some exciting news today, and you've been here for 15 years, so you have been here throughout many exciting developments at ADDER. Could you talk to us a little bit about what we're announcing today?
Thank you very much, Ed. Today we're going to talk about, the next generation of our ADDER Infinity Manager. We're calling this AIM 6. No surprise to anybody, this is probably the sixth iteration or sixth major iteration of the software, which has now been running for the best part of, 15 years. The ADDER Infinity Manager is the core, the hub, the intelligence of our ADDER Infinity Matrix system that we provide to many users around the world. And we've taken this opportunity to give it a brand new look and feel, where we've been spending some time talking with our customers about the user journeys and how they want to use the system. And we've, redesigned the user interface to give a much more intuitive journey going forward.
Great. And thanks for going into the context there so people can understand a bit more about what AIM does. For a administrator that sits behind the system, why is this level of control so important to them?
Well, again, all of the things that we tend to do tend to be 24/7 operations. So everyone's looking for, resilience and optimal uptime. But for the administrators, they need to be able to very quickly and succinctly figure out if there is anything wrong, what is wrong with it, and how to deal with it. And therefore, the user journeys when using the software are very important. And that's what we've tried to focus on here for the administrators. We haven't forgotten the users, and we've also put some stuff in there to make it much more easy to follow and to understand what you're trying to do. So we're trying to look after the user journey, the user experience, as well as the actual equipment.
Great. So that's a bit about AIM. Could you tell us any new features of AIM 6?
Well, the fundamental, the core of it was to make it more accessible. So we've looked at accessibility standards to make sure that it's easy to read, easy to navigate. So that's been one part of it. And again, it's to make it intuitive, to say that the information at a glance, that you can see what is going on and be able to affect any changes that you need to the system in a very ordered fashion. So it's all about efficiency and speed of operation and speed of understanding the issues that you may be facing.
And why would that really matter to someone sitting behind a desk?
Again, there are many personas who use the ADDER equipment. The person who's sitting at a editing desk, if they're say like doing post-production, they're not that interested in the AIM system in itself, other than the fact that the AIM system delivers them the tools to allow them to change from machine to machine as they need to for their job. The AIM also provides a good, it's the interface for the IT administrators who are running the facility, and it gives them the window into how the entire system is working. In some of the facilities, there are many hundreds of endpoints of the ADDER Infinity endpoints, and therefore they need to know how they're operating, what is right, what is wrong, and they need to be able to do that quickly and succinctly, and that is the heart of the AIM 6 project.
Cool, thanks for going into a bit of context on the current AIM and the purpose it serves. Could you tell us a little bit about AIM 6 then and what's new?
Yes, this is really a kind of, a consumer, a client-based led approach where we've been talking to our customers about how they would like to see the interfaces and the functionality improved. And we've tried to we've brought that into basically a complete user experience redesign. So the whole user experience of using the AIM has changed to try and hit those salient points of being easy to see, easy to navigate, and easy to carry out the actions that you want to do.
If you could summarise AIM in one sentence, what would that be?
It's quite difficult to do it in one sentence, but I'll give it a very good show. But I would say it is to control our system at a glance, quickly and efficiently.
Perfect, thank you. So you talked about AIM 6 enhancing user experience. Could you tell me a little bit about the new system at a glance features?
Yeah, it's very simple, Ed. As an administrator, when I sit down and look at the first page when I'm looking at the system, I want to know exactly what is going on in the shortest period of time. So what we've done is we've reinvented the dashboard so that you can actually see the whole infrastructure and the status of it very quickly. I say, for an example of this, is the first thing you'll see is how many of the devices are in use, how many of them are online but not in use, and God forbid if there's anything there which is offline and obviously not working. So it's brought to the attention of the administrator very quickly. So that's the whole point of the redesign, is to make sure that that information is there as you look.
And if I'm an IT administrator and I want to make sure all my servers and systems are running correctly, is there a way I can see the health of these systems?
Yes. So what we've done is we've used a card system, and one of the cards on that dashboard, that main dashboard, is a card about the ecosystem health. So you can see how your servers are running. Obviously, most people run multiple management servers, so you have a main or a backup. And it might be that you're in a campus and you have many outlying buildings of which you can put like a satellite server in those in the event of communication breaking between the buildings. And it's very easy to then see the status of those and to be able to see that they are online and their databases are backed up. So again, it's just making sure that if there is an issue and it's flagged on that page, you can then go off and see what is the issue and look at rectifying it in an appropriate fashion.
Mm-hmm. And if I'm tracking multiple campuses and logins at these campuses, is there a way I can have a clear view of all the events and logins that happen on my servers?
Yes, again, well, on the dashboard we have a card which is all about the events and actions that are happening. So we have events logs and action logs, so that you can see what's happened. And the ability then is, if you can see that there is an alarm or alert, you can go off and then quickly sort to see what has caused that alarm. Again, make the action to what am I going to do about it.
Mm-hmm. And I'm sure these admins will be trying to keep track of hundreds to thousands of systems. Is there a restriction on your storage or your network usage?
Not particularly. I mean, part of the system, as part of the parts of the system that we provide with the AIM, is the ability to track what memory and usage that you're making on the system, what storage is on the system, and what network usage that you're making on the system. But we also provide with the system lots of packages to allow third-party systems to that, so we can export things to things like syslog, or we can bring in SNMP monitoring. So if a customer has a separate monitoring system for all systems put together, we can join that ecosystem as well. So there are many things that we can do to make the life of the IT administrator easier.
So you mentioned AIM 6 being designed for accessibility. How does the brand new interface allow that?
Okay, so I think first of all we need to explain what accessibility means. Most websites these days are following a WCAG guidelines for the way that they are laid out and made, readable. most websites are going for the AA standard, and that means we're looking at contrasts, making sure things are clearly readable, making sure that that font sizes are correct, and that it is truly accessible to most people. An example of accessibility is to do with, the lighting conditions. We have some operators who will be using the equipment in very light environments, and others that will be very dark. And we've introduced a light and dark mode into the AIM interface as well as the OSD, which allows the user to choose what their option is of how they want to read the information. That's part of the accessibility thing. As I said, that's one of the key things that we've done.
Cool. And if I'm a user, I'm probably looking at a lot of screens all day long. Is there a way you can optimize the colors that you use to make certain things stand out?
Yes, part of the standard is about making sure contrast, whatever colours that you use, that you're following basically what is known as a contrast wheel. But obviously for the users, we're also using what we could basically talk about as a traffic light system. So where information is urgent to be looked at, we will make it red. If it's just a caution and might need to be or made a note of, then it's obviously amber, and if it's green, then obviously it's a normal operation. But that helps people focus on what they need to do, say immediately or next.
Mm-hmm. What other optimizations have been made to the system?
So one of the things that we've tried to focus on, as again we've said at the beginning, making things easier. So we've changed the way that we navigate through the web pages. So we've moved it to a left-hand side kind of a navigation pane, and also made that collapsible, so we have more real estate for the interface as well.
And have you considered the format in the way the information is presented on screen?
Yes, again, we looked at all of the user journeys that we do for each of what we could say the personas of people who might be using it. So if you are a maintenance engineer and you want to talk about the devices, we've grouped all of the device stuff together. If you're maybe an HR manager and you're looking at basically adding or deleting users from the system, again, we've put all of those functions together. So we've tried to think about the user journeys for each of the personas, and therefore ordering the information so it's easier to get to.
So we've talked about the new interface in some depth. Can I ask you some other questions just about the rest of the system?
Of course you can, Ed. Far away.
So let's talk about resilience of AIM. How does AIM ensure uptime?
Okay, well, there are a couple of things that we looked at when we were designing the system. One is to have basically a redundant operation, so you have a main AIM controller, and then we can have backups and satellites depending on how the topology of the campus may be laid out. And the second part of that is like network resilience as well. So all of our boxes have what we call dual network interfaces, so that you can route information around a campus in different directions, linking everything up. So if there is an unexpected failure in one area, it doesn't affect the operation of the system. The system can carry on operating. So those are the two main areas of how we've designed the system to get you that 24/7 operation.
And how granular is the user control?
Again, with any system, you have to have granularity down to a single user, and then you can create user groups, and you can then create groups of groups. The whole point in being is that you want to make an easy way of operating, and that is done by users, and that's done by equipment as well. So you can group users together, you can group, equipment together, as in transmitters or receivers, into different groups, as in you can create, a desk, a room, a building by using the groups policies.
For an IT administrator, how easy is it to actually manage the entire system?
It's very simple. That was the whole exercise that we've been going through. Again, it's the ability to be able to give the information quickly to people and in concise groups. I want to manage users, I go to the I go to the sort of groups about users. I want to manage devices, I go to the devices group. So again, we're trying to make it just an intuitive journey, and actually to not take up time. The whole essence of a KVM system is that to most people, it is invisible. It just happens.
A question that often pops up is, how can you scale video to another network?
The great thing about the Infinity system was the name, that we designed it to be of infinite size. So we have, most of our equipment, I would say, is actually quite small installations where they might work over a single subnet. But we have many installations which work to multiple subnets and actually have over 2,000 endpoints on them. So we are truly scalable in the way that we do this. We just use standard IT and IP protocols. There is nothing special about the protocols that we're using. It is all standard IT practice. But by using, multicast technology and, as I say, subnet technology, we can basically make sure that we can move our video across any area in terms of a local area network campus to provide the system that they need.
ADDER have done a lot of work with APIs. Can AIM integrate into other systems?
Well, absolutely. That's why we have the API. It's an open API to the Open API standard. And, we have many people who use their control systems to control the ADDERlink Infinity system. So whether that be somebody like EVS with the Cerebrum system, or whether that be a Lavo, or whether that be a Crestron, there are many, many different systems that we've created interfaces, or even our customers have created interfaces to control the ADDERlink Infinity system. The API is not the only way of interfacing. As I said, we've talked before about having LDAP interface and open LDAP interface so that you have integration with work systems. We've talked about SNMP interfaces for monitoring systems. We've talked about syslog to make sure that there's an audit and a different audit trail to ours so that we can externally capture the logs. So all of these parts is part of what we call a third-party system, where we're a component within that larger system. And the aim there is to be what we call a good neighbour, to make sure that we're supporting them in the aims that they're trying to achieve.
Aims, pardon the pun.
Thank you very much.
You mentioned a minute ago about KVM being invisible, and the idea of it is to be quick. So how fast can you deploy systems?
With the modern IT infrastructure, it is very easy to deploy an Infinity system. In reality, it's pretty much what we call a zero config system, in that once you have turned on the manager, it'll automatically find the endpoints, and then you can give them what I call a personality, name them, say what they're going to do. So it doesn't take an awful long time to bring up the system. It's pretty much, the most of the time is in physical installations. And even there, we've taken great care with things like our 0U dongle range to make sure that it's very simple to deploy these systems into the real world. Obviously, time is money, and the less time and less infrastructure that you have to use, that is an advantage. And as I say, by the fact that we have the manager, which does automatically find all of the endpoints, the actual setup time for a system is actually relatively small.
So let's talk a little bit about the at-the-desk user control. What control do users have day to day?
Okay, so in the same way as you would turn up at your desk and log into your PC, you're using exactly the same sort of work practices as that. So as you come up to a KVM receiver, you're faced with a login screen. So obviously type in your username and password, and you are then presented with the sources of information that you are allowed to see. So obviously the AIM system gives you your user rights management, and you will be given a range of sources that has been predetermined for your role that you've got. In that experience, we have what we call like viewing modes. So you can have a choice of having a view-only mode, which basically you'll see the video that is being played or the interface, but you have no control over it. We then have a shared mode, which is really quite good fun because I can have control over a system, and so can somebody else, and we can fight each other with the mouse for who's got control. But it's also, I say, great for collaboration. And sharing it and seeing how someone else might be doing something. So it's a great learning tool. The third view is what we call an exclusive mode, where only one person has the control of the system, but lots of other people might be watching it. I'll give a very random example here of somebody shutting down a nuclear power station where only the operating procedure would be for one person to do it, and maybe there's his boss and his boss's boss watching him actually press the buttons and see what he's doing as he's closing it down. So other people can view it, but they can't touch it while somebody's operating the system. And then the last mode is private, where I've got the control of the resource, nobody can see what's going on. So that might be an HR moment where they're working on HR systems. So again, there's 4 choices of viewing modes, and that's what we've always provided. With the new AIM-6, what we've done is we've taken some of those accessibility rules, and we've given people the choice of the, like light and dark modes. We've again used the colours, the traffic lights, to bring people's attention to things that may be put on that OSD. And we've tried to relay it out to make that the journey of selecting the tasks and what they're trying to do much more easier. That's what it doesn't take away from the other features that we've always had in there, where people can set up, hotkeys and favourites so that they can remember, so they don't even have to use like an on-screen display, that they can set things up to their personal taste, and so that they can navigate to do the tasks that they would normally do on a more repetitive basis. So again, trying to tailor the system to make the users' job more easier and more productive than it would have been before.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned hotkeys there and switching. How instant is that switching? Obviously, it's quite important in mission critical or live environments.
Okay, switch time is generally sub-second. If you, if you are changing resolutions from one to another, so sometimes the video can take a little bit longer because obviously there's some, very mechanicalistic things that have to happen, like monitors have to resize, which the KVM system isn't in control of, but generally speaking, from an HD to an HD or a 4K to a 4K, it's sub-second channel changes. And one of the neat bits of technology that we've got into our KVM system is the fact that the USB changes as well. So you're not waiting for the USB keyboard or mouse to catch up; it is there instantly as you change.
Mm-hmm. Thanks for that, John. So to wrap up, for anyone considering AIM-6, what are some key takeaways?
Well, as I say, the AIM-6 is all about making your life easier. So if you've already got an ADDERLink Infinity system, the AIM-6 is a free upgrade to the platform as long as you're using the current AIM server, the ASP001. But in terms of the usability, people will find AIM-6 a lot easier to navigate and a lot easier to see the information than in the previous iterations. So I think that's the key takeaway. We're making life better for the users at the desk and for the administrators.
Mm-hmm. And for those that want to find out more?
Well, that's very simple. All of the information is available at www.ADDER.com, or you can speak to your local representatives or your local ADDER sales reps. We have this wonderful facility here in Cambridge, the ADDER Customer Experience Centre, where you can see the AIM working, as well as all of the other ADDERLink Infinity equipment and other things that ADDER make. So, as I say, we can make use of this facility, or, as I say, you can book some demos and people will be able to bring equipment to your site.
Thank you for that, John, and thanks so much for joining us today. It's been a pleasure.
Oh, thank you very much, Ed.
Come back anytime.
I shall.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of ADDERTalks. To find out more about AIM-6, please click the links below and discover what AIM-6 means for your operations. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you soon.